Pat, I'm very curious to hear you. Hope you don't mind me asking you this, but it seems at one point, particularly in improvisational music, many musicians were much more open about their faith and their religion and how it relates to their music than it is now. I feel like, on a whole, there's a sense of conservatism. Is like, well, even if you are spiritual, don't talk about it. That's really, you don't want to rattle things up too much. But I find that you have such a much broader view of what this whole thing is about. What do you, what does religion, I mean, what part does it play in your music or in your life? Do you consider yourself a...
Well, yeah, I understand your question,
Yeah.
And I think it's a very valid question. Religion plays a very little part in all the things that I have interest in. Religion seemed to become confining at a very early age for me, and I became much more interested in what generally is referred to as spiritualism, which embraces all things as the purpose of what these things are all about. I can also include, musicianship in the same thing. I find it very confining to interact with. Let me put it to you this way: I remember being in a cab, and the driver, through just the warmth and social interaction between me and the driver, I came to find out that really the cab driver, what I would normally, if I allowed it to, I would consider a cab driver, was actually a physicist. And he didn't really have any employment at that particular time. So he made up the difference. And he had the opportunity of this opportunity, of driving a cab, paying his bills, taking care of his family, until it came to pass. And reaffirmed his next step, decision-wise.
Which is what you did.
Which is what I've had to do. The fact of it is, when I went back to Philadelphia and had the operations and procrastinated, I think procrastination had a great deal to do with the neighbors that surrounded me in that residence. Finding something in common with them seemed to be more important than finding something in common with something that I had been away from for quite some time. And I felt alienated with music because it had nothing to do with my neighbors. And I was more interested in the smile that I received from my neighbor than I was coming back to New York City from Philadelphia, looking up old friends, which some didn't even exist anymore, had passed away, transcended. So it was very confusing at that time. I was more interested in now than in whatever came next, or whatever happened before.
Right.
I was more interested in now. And that's the change, most of all, the change. So the same thing went with religion. Coming back to your question, it was an established package, which could be, in a sense, the same thing as musicianship, as a career. As a career, it's an established package of rules and regulations, of opportunities, of co-relationships, professionally speaking, that would allow opportunity to emerge according to those standards, and which, in a sense, also at the same time alienated any of its surroundings and forced the individuals to maintain their social position in that package. And I find that confining, as well as a musician, as well as I would as initially as a specific branch of religion.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'd like to back you up a little bit and ask, what does a guitar god such as yourself, as you are rightfully known as, what were some of the earliest recordings that you can remember that really just grabbed you and made
Guitar
you think?
Boogie.
Guitar Boogie?
Yeah, Guitar Boogie. And also Les Paul.
Sure.
Les Paul. And of course, the music, you know, what children want friends. Children want friends. And what their friends enjoy is what they have to learn more about, to participate with their friends and to learn how to enjoy each other. Of course, that stimulates complications in the long run. Nonetheless, I think that's the general nature of most children. So I listened to what the community used as a fuel to interact. And during those earlier ages, it was rock and roll.
Sure.
You know, it was early rock and roll. So I was affected by that until finally I was exposed to something that caught my attention. That caught my attention. And as in the documentary, I'll say it again, what caught my attention most was a contest that my dad brought me to, that I came in second place. I lost to an 8-year-old ballerina. And my prize, my gift, was to go to the table, and there was nothing but LPs, 33 1/3 LPs, across the table, stacked one on the other. And my prize was to select my favorite and take it with me. And I looked at all the things, and I went through it. I was 12 years old. And I went through and I saw all these album covers, all like flashing a rainbow of colors and presentation, you know, album covers. Wow. These must be important people, you know, wow. And Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. And then I saw one album cover that was black and white out of all of the ones that were full color, you know. And I said, wow. And I went over to it and I looked at it. And there on the cover was Donald Byrd and Gigi Grace. And I said, I want this one. I wanted the opposite of what was there for me. I wanted the one thing that I wasn't supposed to maybe go to, but that's what stuck out most of all. I didn't know what was on it, but I knew it was different than all the rest, and that's what I wanted. So I took that and I took it home, and I didn't want to play guitar, I wanted to be a trumpet player. And my father said, no, you can't do that because you're going to ruin your lips and you'll never have a kiss again. So stay with the guitar. Stay with the guitar.
Plus, more girls like the guitar, right?
Yeah.